Hey there, Southern Indiana Sawmill watchers. Behind me here I have a JCB forklift. And for those of you who've been watching the page, who've been following along the last several weeks, you'll know that I've been making some decisions to get some equipment to get back into the sawmill business. And so this is the next step in that. Now, for those of you who have been watching, you're going to be saying, wait a second, I thought that you just got a tractor. And that's right, I did get a tractor. And I had the tractor for about a month and a half, and then I decided to sell it. And I'll tell you why. After I tried to move a few logs around the property, I realized that with my experience with running skid steers and things like that, that tractor was just going to be way slower than what I wanted and was not going to be able to really move a lot of the capacity that I wanted. Also, I don't like dragging logs through the mud at the end of the day, and I decided that that would be just too big of a compromise for me and my sawmill operation. So what ended up happening is I was perusing on Facebook one day, and there was a very nice guy in West Virginia that had this forklift, and after talking with him back and forth, we were able to work on a deal of me trading him the tractor, and I gave him a little bit of cash, and I was able to get into this forklift right here. So I'm going to show you a little walk around while I'm talking of the forklift and explain a little bit about exactly what this thing is. Essentially what we have here is a telehandling machine without the extending boom on it. So it's really just a large rough terrain forklift. Its lifting capacity is rated at somewhere around 5,000 pounds. Of course, these things are always rated lower than what they're actually capable of. So I'm sure I'll get to test that out in the limits eventually. You'll see me doing another video of cutting something probably too big for my mill. It has these very huge front tires on it. Basically just construction grade tires. And so those would be a pretty penny when those come to replace, but thankfully there's still pretty good tread on the front tires. It is a 4x4, but the rear differential, the rear drive shaft is not hooked up to the rear differential. There is an issue with the rear differential. This is a forklift, so it steers from the rear. And so in the coming days I'll be trying to figure out exactly what the issue is with the rear differential. That could end up costing quite a bit. Of course, I'm not really in a position right now to fix that, but it drives fine on just the front wheels, and I'm pretty happy with it. And as time allows, I will get into the back of that and figure out what in the world is going on. On the front of this, there is this sticker, this decal, so you can read it there, in loving memory of Billy Anvil from Anvil Iron Works. December 6th, 42, deceased February 2nd, 03. And this to me is so important. It says Dad. I have no plans of removing that sticker. I hope that the original owners will be okay with that. But I just think that that's really neat. To have this machine that was dedicated to a man that I honestly don't know, but obviously a hardworking man and a good father with this machine dedicated to him. So I plan to keep that in memory. As we're walking around the machine, I just want to show you a couple things. The really good rear tread on the machine and the back of it here. This is a diesel. So it obviously is going to be a very strong engine. It's a 4-cylinder Perkins diesel engine, which is located in the compartment right under that shroud right there. Well, I'll show you what I'm going to move today, and then we'll do a little bit of work so that you can see it in action. This is a pile of logs and scraps and cut-offs that I've had sitting around the yard for probably the last year. And it's from, really, this is just a couple sawmill jobs, believe it or not. This stack has accumulated. And it's sitting right in the middle of the yard. Now, I would like to put it way down there at the end of the road. And the reason I want to put it down there, 1, it gets the scrap out of the way. 2, it gives people an opportunity to pick up some scraps when they need them for firewood or whatever miscellaneous arts and craft projects they might have. And 3, I have future plans of building a barn right in this area. The barn will hopefully go from somewhere around here to somewhere down in this area. I want to build a barn that's 60 to 80 feet long and capable of housing a few stacks of lumber, my sawmill, and my equipment. So that's the plan for right now. So let's go ahead and see this thing in action and watch it move some of these old cutoffs here. Well, here I was having all kinds of fun moving this stack over here, and I thought that I would go back for one last load, which was kind of down here, and as you can see, I got this thing stuck pretty good. So approximate weight, like I said earlier, of this lift is around 10,000 pounds, and all I really have on hand right now is this truck right here. We call a multator. I'm going to put them in 4x4 low and see if there's any possible way that we could nudge this enough that it could take over and pull out. I foresee figuring out the 4x4 on this in the very near future. So I'm going to show you what we're going to do. So here's the grand plan. I am recruiting the best helper I have, my lovely wife, and I'm going to teach her today how to run the forklift. And then I'm going to be in the truck because I'm sure that you're much more comfortable
trial by fire either way, so it doesn't
doing
matter.
The 4x4 and low. So her job is going to be to basically keep it in reverse, and as I'm pulling, as I'm pulling, she's going to be trying to go in reverse, and we'll try to pull the forklift out. The kids at home have already taken a vote on this, and there's probably anywhere from a 20% chance to a 100% chance of this working. So we're going to find out in just a minute, so stay with us. Here we go.
You guys are awful.
Okay, so that was about a 0% chance of success, I would say, in getting that out. Old Tater just doesn't have it in him to pull, and this thing is really stuck, and so I've got a couple options. I could call a big tow company and have them try to get it. I could tie it up to a tree up the way and try to winch it out. That may be the next best bet. And the third is just to let the ground dry out, and I'm sure that it will come out once the ground is dry enough. But here in southern Indiana, it rains almost every day in the springtime. And so I'm probably not just going to sit around and wait for the ground to dry out. So this video is going to end up taking a little longer than I thought. But again, this is life, and this is about persevering and setting good examples for the children. And of course, relying on God to get us through all of these circumstances. And so that's exactly what we're going to do. And I'm confident that we're going to get what has now been named Samson Jr. because the tractor was named Samson that we traded. And we will get Samson Jr. out of here in no time. Well guys, I wish that I could have shown you the video of me pulling the forklift out of here. The reason that I missed the video is because as soon as we came out here to start pulling it out, it started to rain, and we didn't want to get the video equipment wet, and so we decided just to do what we had to do to get it pulled out, and then I'm just going to show you the aftermath here. This is the hole that was left, and of course video doesn't show you too well how deep that is, but I can stick my entire foot down like this with one leg resting up. That's about a foot deep that tire was stuck in the mud. Boy, this was a disaster. And you know, sometimes I just sort of wonder why does this sort of thing keep happening? And you know, and obviously the answer to that is simple, is foresight. But I'm kind of learning as I go with a lot of these things. I should have known not to go down here with this forklift because it's 10,000 pounds, you know, and I didn't know it would be quite so muddy. I had taken 2 previous loads out of this spot, and it was going back for that third load that really did it, that got me stuck. So yeah, let's go and look at the equipment that I used to pull this out, and really this worked pretty well for us. And hopefully we don't have to do it again, but if we do now, we have the equipment that we need to pull it out. So let's go look at that real quick. So I think the best way to do this is probably just to travel around with the camera here a little bit and show you. No pun intended. This is the Traveler winch from Tractor Supply. Busiest spot in town here in my little southern Indiana town for the last couple months. And this is the 12,000 pound. Right now they have this thing on sale. It's about $360, I think. comes with these cables to hook it up to a battery. And what I ended up doing is getting some battery jumper cables and running them all the way up to the front of the truck here. And we just ran them up here. You see the cable is still loose. I got to respool the cable. But I just ran it up to the battery, right up to the front of the truck. And then what I did is, you'll see I have this big bull bar on the front of my old truck here. And I just hooked it up. I actually hooked a chain up around this area right here. And then I had a pulling rope, 17,000 pound pulling rope, that I used to put around the tree to try to protect the bark of the tree. So we had, basically it was hooked up to a rope up in this area, and that rope went to a chain, and the chain hooked around the front of the truck, right around there. So basically the truck was just being used as a middleman to help with the winching. And you know, if you all have a better idea or a better way to do that in the future, the main thing is I needed the winch to be stable, and it needed to be hooked up to something rock solid that wouldn't move. Then on this end, the forklift has a tow hook on the back, and I hooked this guy up. Of course, that's in the same aisle, the Tractor Supply, that I got the winch. And you just undo this and you can hook the cable up around that area there. A little difficult with one hand to show you all this. And so then that essentially doubles your pulling power, which is what we did. So the 12,000 pound winch became a 24,000 pound winch. And you know, based on my experience, which is moderate, I don't consider myself super experienced in towing and rigging, but I don't really consider myself an absolute beginner either. Definitely not a beginner at it. But I've never had to pull anything this heavy out before, and so that puts me somewhere in the middle ground. I've pulled out trucks and cars and smaller vehicles. But this thing did a great job, and if I had a blooper reel, man, I really wish I had that footage, and I know shoulda, coulda, woulda, but this is real life we're dealing with. And but if there was a blooper reel, you would have seen that when I started to pull the forklift out, what I thought was in neutral was actually in gear on the forklift. And so this winch pulled a 10,000 pound forklift out of a foot of mud while it was still in gear. That's pretty amazing to me. And when I found out it was in gear, of course, I ran up and I put it in neutral, and then it pulled it out with zero problem at all. So I was pretty impressed with the way that we were able to do that and get it pulled out. And the reason that I haven't mounted on the rear here, on the tail, is because I don't want this thing mounted in the front of my truck forever. I really don't do enough pulling and stuff to have to necessitate that on the front of my truck. Another thing that I really liked about this winch was the fact that it came with this really cool remote. I'll get a little closer for you here. And you see it's got a switch, forward, reverse right there. And I don't know if I said it, but this thing's about 12 foot long. And so you have really good reach with it. You can stand way off to the side or towards the front, towards the back. And that was really helpful for me because I didn't know what the heck was going to happen with the truck when we started pulling it. The truck being sort of a middleman of sorts. And the truck did move slightly to the side, but it allowed me to stand far enough away that if something did snap or go wrong, that I was going to be very, very safe even if that happened. So I guess this video kind of turned into a little bit of a recovery thing again. You know, I've talked about this before in some of my other videos, and I think it's one of the reasons that some of you all resonate with me as well as you do, is the fact that I don't look at challenges like this as like big problems or disasters. I see them as opportunities to overcome, opportunities to grow character, and opportunities to grow faith, quite honestly. And so stuff like this, it's not like I look forward to it, but it's not the end of the world. I look at it as a way of sort of training myself to be a better person. So enough about all of this rigging and this winching and stuff like that. Let's just have one last word on the forklift and then we'll be done. Well, there you have it. This is the new forklift. The name of this forklift, like I said before, from the tractor that we traded was named Samson. And we have decided to name this forklift Samson Jr., which is kind of ironically funny because, of course, it's twice the size of the tractor. But we're going to use this thing a lot around here for our operation. Really, it's just an invaluable piece of equipment. It's a back saver. Some time ago, we made a video of me and of my wife helping me mill some thick red oak slabs. And right after we made that video, we just realized how stupid it was, really, to not have some sort of equipment around. And so we decided to make the purchase on a skid steer, which I sold last year when I sold everything else. And so this is a big upgrade, I think, even from the skid steer for my particular application of being able to move all these logs around. So we love it. We're going to keep using it. If you're new to Southern Indiana Sawmill, would you consider subscribing? Then you can watch all the videos that come out from here on out. Thanks, guys. Have a good day.